What's up, guys? Ian here, coach of your normally Ladder Lantern, but here I am B, coach of your Stow-On-Side Stufful. Bringing you guys the final episode of ABDL Season 2, the movie. This is the Playoffs movie. I will not spoil what happens, but um, yeah, I have at least one playoff match to show you here. Our semifinals match against Nessa and the Hullbury Huntail. If you do not know what ABDL is and you're very confused as to what I'm talking about, then please go back and watch the first part, which contains all the information about ABDL, all the information about my team, and all of the rest of the parts too, honestly, because it's quite an interesting journey. At this point in the season, we are 10-2. I earned second place, and that earned me a bye into semifinals. It was Nessa versus Piers, and I was really hoping the Piers was going to win because Piers I had a much better matchup against. I 6-0'd Piers in the regular season, whereas I lost to Nessa in the regular season. So, more challenging matchup here for me in semis. Nessa's team is the exact same as it was in Part 4 in Week 11 there, but it is Zapdos, Melodic, Espeon, Darmanitan, Roserade, Steelix, Mega Absol, Galarian Corsola, Daboul, Deoxys Attack, and Minior. Last time, I lost to Sub Smash Minior at the end of the game. Also, last time there was a Steelix instead of this Mega Absol, so that's the only change on her part. On my part, I believe I made quite a few different changes, actually. Just comparing the teams, I don't have Bolton, and I have... No, that's the only change. I swapped out Bolton for Vikavolt in the rebuild here, but most of the team is the same. The sets are wildly different, though. It's similar on the Articuno set, but I think everything else is completely different. So, first up on my side is the Yveltal. I'm bringing a Black Glasses Yveltal with Dark Pulse, Sucker Punch, Roost, and Oblivion Wing. I'm running a hasty set with enough speed for Darmanitan. Sucker Punch should obliterate Darmanitan. It'll definitely obliterate Deoxys' attack, and it's a way for me to pick off the Minior after Shell Smash. Dark Pulse with Black Glasses and not a Choice Scarf is looking closer to a two-shot against fully specially defensive Zapdos, like what she brought last time. It's also better against Roserade, as well as the Galarian Corsola, and it's better to hit the Melodic with, so I think Dark Pulse in general is just really spammable against this team. There's like one resist, and it's the Mega Absol, which is not really a resist. So this team really struggles against Yveltal in general, and it's going to be one of my main win conditions in this game. Roost because last time I got Toxic, and rocks were up on my side and whatnot, and I was Scarfed, so I didn't really have any other options. And then Oblivion Wing if I really need to get some HP back. Oblivion Wing is fine, especially if the Roserade came. I thought that it was an alright bring against the Roserade without having to click Dark Pulse. And Justified Absol was a thing too, so I wanted to be able to have something to click against Absol as well. Vikavolt is heavy duty boots. It is specially defensive Vikavolt designed to take on the Zapdos. And kind of the Espeon, I think, was another thing that I was trying to take on with this, is Espeon. I can eat Power Gems from Minior after Smash as well. I've got Sticky Web, Bug Buzz, Roost, and Volt Switch. Volt Switch over Thunderbolt because I wanted to get some momentum on a few things. I didn't really think the Steelix was going to come this time. Steelix was kind of a weird bring last time, and there's no chance in hell I was bringing Bolton this time. So, yeah, I just wanted to have that there. Sticky Webs is not super important, especially when they can be magic bounced back, but I do threaten the Mega Absol myself. Roost is there obviously for my own recovery, and Heavy Duty Boots prevent me from taking rocks damage. Webs are more of a caution against Deoxys' attack, forcing it into extreme speed, which, while it is powerful, is less powerful than something like Psycho Boost. And it sets up a win condition of my Swords Dance Landorus in the back, excuse me, which I think could be very helpful as well. Articuno, I'm also running Heavy Duty Boots with Roost, Freeze Dry, Heal Ball, and Toxic. I think that's actually pretty much the exact same set I brought last time. Although I may have had Ice Beam last time, I don't have that anymore. I have Toxic instead, or yeah, I had Roost last time. I am fully specially defensive Articuno though this time. Excuse me, fully specially defensive Articuno this time, whereas last time I was a very speedy variant to outrun the Melodic, but despite me being just as scared, if not more scared, of competitive Melodic this time because I'm bringing Web's Vikavolt, I don't think it's relevant for me to be thinking about that, and really, if it's competitive Melodic, then Spidef Articuno will be able to take that on anyways. I'm actually running a Sassy Nature? Why am I Sassy? That actually makes no sense to me why I'm Sassy. Unless the only reason I can think of is I wanted to get off slower roosts on the melodic or something. I don't understand why I'm sassy over. I have attack investment. What was this build? Something got screwed up somewhere. Actually, let me just check and see if it even pasted correctly when I was originally building this. Did it paste properly? Articuno. Nope. It was sassy and 8 attack. Okay, so weird Articuno set. I don't. The EVs definitely screwed up there. It should have been 8 special attack and calm nature rather than sassy. So that got screwed up, but it's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. I don't know why there's any attack investment on this. I think I may have had U-turn at some point and did the EVs when I had U-turn. I cannot remember, but that is fuck up number 2 of the season, as you guys know from the previous video. When was that even? Against Sonya, like week 3, where I really screwed up my my Articuno entirely. Great. I really just messed with Articuno this season. Anyways, that's besides the point. I'm bringing a different Dracovish than I did last time. I'm not really anticipating her to change many things up because she won, so I didn't really expect the Darmanitan to come. And if it does come, the Dracovish can still eat hits if I need to. So I'm opting into, and I'm bringing webs as well. Oh, pardon me. So, Dracovish is banded this time instead of a weird water absorb set that I was last time. I'm running speed investment this time. Fish's Rend Crunch, which is there for the Galarian Corsola in a pinch. Super Fang to wear down the Melodic and the Zapdos. And then Facade in case I get Scald Burned or paralyzed, static paralyzed by the Zapdos. Max Attack Adamant, I'm outspeeding Minior before Smash, as well as no speed Zapdos. With this speed investment, I think it's the same. 240, yeah, I'm hitting 241, which is just above max speed Timid or max speed Jolly Minior in Meteor form rather than core form, and it should be outspeeding no speed Zapdos as well. I should be at the very least two-shotting everything that's not named Melodic with Fish's Rend, and I may even two-shot Melodic with Fish's Rend without Flame Orb because I'm banded and adamant. It should be doing a trillion damage to absolutely everything. Heatran is specially defensive with Choppleberry for Superpower Deoxys. I think I was Chopple last time for Superpower Deoxys as well. I was not actually. I was just leftovers, fully specially defensive, praying that it wasn't Chopple. And then it ended up not even having superpower. But I think that was a big misplay on her part last time, was having protect over superpower, because it meant the Heatran actually just sat on top of that thing. So I do think that superpower is going to come this time, and that is precisely why I am Choppleberry. Rocks, Toxic, Flamethrower, Magmastorm, I think that's about the same. Magmastorm is still really good chip against a lot of stuff, and trapping in things like Galarian Corsola I'm fine with. Just getting that extra residual chip on quite a few things on this team was pretty helpful. Especially like Steelix, because with Sturdy it can live, but it won't live with the Magmastorm damage, so important there. Flamethrower is just a more reliable way to hit the Deoxys attack. I wanted something like either Flamethrower or Flash Cannon to be able to kill that, and Zapdos resists Flash Cannon, so in a situation where I'm in against the Zapdos, because this is also technically a Zapdos switch in, I would rather have Flamethrower than Flash Cannon because I'm doing more damage to Zapdos. That's kind of the whole idea. I'm actually running a little bit of speed on this to outspeed min-speed Melodic so that I can get a Toxic off on that. I was slower than Melodic last time and I paid the price. So this time I would rather be faster than a physically defensive Melodic, and I don't think the Melodic can afford to spread EVs around very much because it does have to check my Landorus as well as the Dracovish. Last up on my side is Lando. I'm running almost the identical set to last time. Well, sort of in a different way. I'm actually running Dual Dance Lando, which in theory I could run. I can Rock Polish ahead of the Deoxys and Absol. They both do have priority, right? But in most worlds, I can Rock Polish on them, or if I just have webs up, then I can only opt to Swords Dance. Swords Dance is really the better option here. I had Smackdown and Explosion last time. Explosion proved to be pretty worthless, and Smackdown is not really relevant when I live in a world where I can just Swords Dance and Rock Slide things. I pretty much just Earthquake everything that isn't named Minior, and like there's 0 ground resist on this team and only 2 immunities in the Zapdos and the Minior, neither of which appreciate Rock Slide. At +2, Rock Slide will OHKO both of them, especially if it's specially defensive Zapdos like it was last time. I'm Lumberry again for Scald Burns, Toxic, whatever whatever you may have, and I am outspeeding the Roserade, which should not show, and that is the lander set. And so I guess let's hop right into things here. So interesting semifinals game here. Let's write down. So I'm actually just going to lead with Dracovish. It's my best lead. I wasn't really expecting an Absol lead. I was expecting like Corsola or even Melodic or Deoxys, which I could. I wouldn't live a hit from Deoxys, but it might be threatened by me being Scarf potentially. You know, I could beat down a Zapdos lead. Like, an Absol lead kind of felt weird to me. And anyways, either way, I calced it. I live the play rough. And so I can basically just claim this Absol turn 1. It really doesn't matter what it goes for me. Fisher's Rend will always kill it because I'm adamant. So she is going to Mega Evolve and knock off my band, which is irrelevant at the moment because Fish's Rend just kills that, but more relevant if I was to be able to break the Zapdos or the Melodic. So Deoxys comes in to revenge me. I mean, it's really the only thing that could because it's a very defensive team and Absol is now dead. So I'm actually just going to opt to sack this and let the Deoxys show what its set is. It is Life Orb with the Ice Beam there. Ice Beam was always doing a huge chunk, but it means I get my Articuno in for free. I didn't really have any reason to save Dracovish. It's not the best breaker that I have without the Choice Band anymore, so opting into breaking with Lando or breaking with Yveltal I think is going to be a little bit better for the other one to clean up, in theory at least. Rather than go Heatran and try and Toxic, because I think that Minior could actually come in on that, I'm going to go Articuno and click Toxic instead. It's pretty obvious that the Deoxys is not going to kill me, and Freezer would kill it, and Freezer seems fairly obvious, so Melodic and Zapdos don't really want to come in on that, so I opted to go for the Toxic. He's going to make a nice, she is going to make a nice double from the Corsola into the Melodic. I want to see the Yveltal in before Rocks. I thought Rocks were going to go up for sure, but the Melodic's going to come in before I can double Toxic or something and proc the Flame Orb. Pretty irrelevant, grand scheme of things. I'm just going to Dark Pulse the next turn. It does almost half. Unfortunately, I get Toxic, but the Melodic's in range of a Dark Pulse now, so it has to switch out into the Zapdos, which we do see is specially defensive once again. The Black Glasses boost not quite doing enough to make this a two-shot. Had I been Choice Specs in this case scenario, then it would have been a little bit better, but then I wouldn't have had as reliable access to the Sucker Punch. So I could take a roll and go for a flinch or something, but instead I'm just going to opt to go into my Heatran on the Zapdos and either go for another Toxic or set up Rocks. I opted to go for the Rocks because Melodic also seemed like a pretty free switch in, and Melodic is a pretty free Vikavolt, especially on a Recover. She's not going to risk it and is just going to go Corsola on my webs. I could have gone for an electric move, but I opted to set up the webs to make my life against the Deoxys attack a little bit easier. You know, my Lando will now outspeed it, my Yveltal will now outspeed it, so it's going to have to go for extreme speed. It's not going to be able to just randomly click Ice Beam against both of those. And there's no removal option. Well, there's the Zapdos left, but considering the Zapdos set from last time, I'm not really anticipating Defog on it. This team kind of just didn't bother trying to click like a removal option against me with double Magic Bouncers. I think she kind of got a little bit overconfident with the idea of having double Magic Bouncers on this team when Zapdos is actually the only removal, but you know, take it as it is. I'm just going to go hard into the Yveltal and the Corsola. Reflect was kind of strange, but I'm just going to be able to claim a kill with Yveltal, so didn't really care there. And now the Zapdos comes in. It does show that it's heavy duty boots. Again, if it's going to defog, it'll defog here, which it doesn't. That's going to get a discharge off and then shows U-turn as well. So because I'm running a little bit of speed on the Heatran, that actually shows me that the Zapdos is potentially running a little bit of speed. I'm going to Magma Storm. I was trying to trap in the Zapdos, which again, it's irrelevant, but we're getting like kind of crucial damage against the Melodic here, forcing it to recover at the very least, which lets my Vikavolt come in. You know, it's still scared out by an electric type move. I'm going to show off Bug Buzz, thinking I don't know why. Because I don't have Thunderbolt. I was just trying to get damage on the Melodic, and then I'll Volt Switch out on the Zapdos, which shows Roost. So Roost discharge U-turn. It clearly doesn't have Defog. I'm not sure what the last move is, but feels like a good opportunity to get my Lando into Swords Dance on the U-turn there. This Melodic with Rock's Ship is almost in range of +2 Earthquake. Not quite. It looked like it was potentially a roll, and then it's actually going to die to the burn damage after it Scald Burns me. You know, I have the Lumberry, so it's irrelevant, but Deoxys is going to be able to extreme speed me here, despite it being slower, and pick me off. But yeah, the Life Orb residual damage on Deoxys is pretty relevant. It's still going to outspeed my Heatran, but luckily I'm Tropical Berry, so the superpower is not going to kill me, and I'll be able to pick off the Deoxys with a Flamethrower here. which I was perfectly okay with. The Minior is going to come in on the Heatran, and here is where I'm expecting a Smash, so I'm just going to go into my Vikavolt, which I know can take one hit for sure after Smash, and kill this. It should kill this with Volt Switch, unless it's like super duper 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 bulky. And it is going to show White Herb, and then it's not going to kill me with the Acrobatics. I thought it might go for Power Gem. Power Gem also would not have killed because I was specially defensive, but Volt Switch does not quite kill, and that is kind of what really sucks there. It's down to 8%. It is now going to Core Form. Everything on my team will now die, but luckily for me, she gets the Mind Game wrong, and Sucker Punch is able to pick that up. Zapdos comes in. Zapdos against the rest of my team is not going to pull it off here. Opposite Discharge and then Roosts on my Vikavolt, which is kind of strange, because I'm actually just going to be able to preserve the Vikavolt and Volt Switch out. I did have Toxic on the Vikavolt, I believe, so I should have gone for that, but going to my Articuno to get the Toxic off, it's shown that it's faster than my Heatran and would kill my Heatran with a Discharge, so I didn't want to deal with that. And Articuno can get a Toxic off and then just roost on the discharges here. At the very least, if I just pressure stall out these discharges, then Heatran could have gotten a Toxic off afterwards. Knowing that this has U-turn, it potentially is Heat Wave for the last move, but it was very strange that it didn't just like Heat Wave the Vikavolt or Defog at some point. But yeah, the Zapdos is going to drop to the Freeze Dry here on this turn, and so we're going to be able to pick up a nice 4-0 win in semifinals. Moving our way to finals, picking up the Salty Run back against Nessa and the Hulberry Huntail. Each of us only changed out one Mon, but it turned out that my one Mon that I switched out was a little bit more effective than the one Mon that she switched out. Mega Absol dying turn 1, that Mega is terrible, and Vikavolt put in a lot of work. With the webs up, definitely helped against the Deoxys attack a little bit at the very least. It probably didn't end up doing anything, but had she clicked Recover with the Melodic on my Lando like I was anticipating, rather than the Scald, then it probably wouldn't have mattered. Lando might have just actually been able to win this game. So there's a pretty clutch Scald play on her part, and potentially not a great Earthquake call on my part on the Lando. I could have gone just directly into Articuno or something like that. My thought process behind that is that if she did recover, then Articuno wasn't a good bring-in, but if she didn't recover and went for the Scald, she's taking more burn damage and she's slower, and then Articuno should have been able to kill with Freeze Dry from there, or Vikavolt with Volt Switch, etc. So that probably was a little bit safer, and in hindsight, I maybe should have gone for that instead of what I did, but you live and you learn, and we still picked up the win, so I will gladly take that. Moving on to finals, we have a rematch against Sonia and the Natdex Nation. Unfortunately for me, I did lose to Sonia as well. So my semifinals and finals opponents were both of the opponents that I lost to in the regular season. But that just means that I get to have another salty run back, right? So taking on Sonia, she changed her team a little bit. She ended up dropping Moltres for Talonflame, but her team consists of Celesteela, Sylveon, Nidoqueen, Araquanid, Umbreon, Tangela, Mega Alakazam, Galarian Rapidash, Stonjourner, Zekrom, and Moltres. Last time she brought Stonjourner and Tangela and swapped those out for Celesteela and Umbreon. I wasn't really expecting the Umbreon to come because I have double Bug on my team and a Comfey. And Sylveon is just like the better check to Yveltal than Umbreon in my opinion. Like I really just don't think that Umbreon is a good. I've also got a Mienshao. Like Umbreon just feels weird. Like I didn't think that Umbreon was a very good bring against my team in general. So just shocked to see it over the what in this matchup. Over the Tangela, I guess, or the Araquanid. Something to resist Lando. Because I didn't show Gravity last time, because I didn't need to, because the Celesteela didn't come, but Gravity Lando just obliterates this team on paper. So I guess let's run through what I'm bringing, because I'm bringing a fairly similar set to last time. So I guess we'll start with the Vikavolt. Bring in Expert Belt Vikavolt, something to break through the Celesteela. I kind of wanted to still over-prep for the Celesteela because I thought that was maybe a bait last time and that Celesteela should come in a repeat matchup, especially given how reliable, in quotations, it is against the Landorus. So yeah, I'm bringing Thunderbolt, Bug Buzz, Sticky Web, Energy Ball. I realized against Nessa that Volt Switch probably just wasn't cutting it in terms of damage output on the Vikavolt, and that is one of the reasons why I didn't get the kill on the Minior and had to make that game a little bit more of a struggle. Had I just had Thunderbolt instead of Volt Switch, or Thunderbolt instead of Toxic or something, then I would have guaranteed myself that kill on the Minior, and it wouldn't have nearly been as sketchy. Webs are a little bit more important in this game to deal with the Zekrom. Make sure that a Scarf Zekrom doesn't get out of hand, and make sure that my Landers can outspeed it after a Dragonance still. Um, the removal option on this team is Moltres, and it didn't come. So Webs, especially in a game without Moltres, are very, very important. They will affect absolutely everything. And again, very important for the Zekrom, but also very important for the Megalakazam. Bug Buzz is mainly there to deal with the Umbreon, and then Energy Ball is sort of a neutral click against the Nidoqueen. Just something to have to hit the Nidoqueen. I thought was important instead of just being outright walled by it. I'm running Max Speed Timid to outrun Araquanid. If it was Max Araquanid, I actually could have run 1 point less, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter. And then I'm running Max Special Attack, so it's a very offensive Vikavolt, again, with Expert Belt, so I can secure kills on things like the Celesteela and the Umbreon and things with Bug Buzz. Landers, I'm running a Lumberry set again, so I've really liked Lumberry this season. But Lumberry for like random Toxics from this team I think is important. Sylveon and Umbreon in particular both will probably carry Toxic. I was also concerned about, what else? Flame Buddy Moltres, maybe? No, I don't think it was Flame Buddy Moltres. I'm not entirely sure what else I was running Lumberry for. Was I Lumberry the first time? Let me just double check. What was my Lando item? No, it was Leftovers the first time. I can't exactly remember why I was Lumberry. I think it was just for Toxic. That seems likely to me that it was just for Toxic. Because there's not really another status that I would be ailed by. You know, if Nidoqueen's going to Ice Beam me, it's pretty relevant. There's nothing that really runs Scald. Scald Araquanid is okay, but it's not that good. And I can't get paralyzed, so... And I don't have a contact move. Okay, so it must have just been for Toxic then. I am a setup variant, heavy setup, Rock Polish Swords Dance again with Gravity and Mono Earthquake. I was thinking to myself in prep, you know, if the Tangela doesn't come this time, it was a very good check to me last time, but I am going to prep harder for it this time, and, you know, you can see Vikavolt, Yveltal, Articuno, Heatran. You know, I've got 4 different better ways to deal with Tangela than just the one that I had last time in Yveltal and kind of with Heatran. But like all I had was Lava Plume, so it wasn't even that strong of a way to hit it. So I prepped harder for Tangela this time to sort of open up a door for Lando, because I think that a Gravity will just obliterate this team. And I do have Rock Polish to outpace things if I have to, but Sword Stance is going to be the primary way for me to get off damage against this team. If I can get up a Sword Stance and a Gravity, then Lando will just go absolutely ham clicking Earthquake against this team. I'm running enough speed for the Zekrom. Yveltal is next. I'm running a Leftovers Yveltal with Toxic for the Sylveon and Umbreon. U-turn to pivot out on things. Dark Pulse to just obliterate, you know, non-dark resist, which is basically not neither of the Eons. Again, I'm surprised to see both of the Eons here. And then Oblivion Wing as a better way to hit the Tangela, especially with Toxic on the Tangela and Oblivion Wing. I can get health back with Leftovers plus Oblivion Wing and dent that thing a little bit harder. I'm outspeeding the Zekrom as well, so Dark Pulse can deal with that. I'm very bulky. I have max HP and then a little bit of special attack investment on there as well. Articuno is coming, sort of a mixed defensive set to take on the Nidoqueen as well as Megalakazam. Defog, Ice Beam, Roost, and Toxic with Heavy Duty Boots. I opted out of Freeze Dry in this matchup, which was kind of strange, but it's because I have Toxic. And I think that Ice Beam is just a little bit more helpful against things like Tangela, as well as the Celesteela. So that's why I'm running a little bit harder hitting Ice Stab in the Ice Beam this week. I'm running enough speed to outspeed Nidoqueen. With my Articuno, everything is actually speed creeping something. I had 6 different speed creeps this time. I went a little bit harder. 160 HP, 120 special defense, and 44 special attack. The EVs are particular for especially offensive Nidoqueen. I can't remember what it is. I don't get 2-shot by Flamethrower or something like that with this investment from like Life Orb Nidoqueen, I think. I want to say is what the calcs are for. And then Ice Beam always kills max HP Nidoqueen is I believe what the calc is for. So this is my Nidoqueen check. It's heavy duty boots, so I'm not taking rocks damage, etc. Defog to get rid of rocks if I really needed to, or webs from the Arachnid. But again, I'm running the quad ground immunities with my Heatran again this week, which has seemed to be pretty common this season, and I'm opting out of bringing Delmise entirely. Mienshao is a choice scarf set with High Jump Kick, Rock Slide, U-turn, and Poison Jab. Rock Slide really only there for the Moltres. High Jump Kick is a kind of an okay click against most of this team. There are a few protectors. I see Celesteela, Sylveon, Umbreon, all use protect relatively usefully. U-turn is just really good for pivoting out on things, especially if I can lure in like the Sylveon, then that's kind of free Lando setup for me. And Poison Jab is there for the Sylveon. I'm speed tying the Galarian Rapidash. Poison Jab's also there for the Galarian Rapidash. Speed tying that, which is not coming against me in this matchup. Then the Heatran, last but not least, is a Choice Specs variant with Fire Blast, Flash Cannon, Rocks, and Earth Power. Specs Fire Blast is a really easy way for me to break through Celesteela. It was an okay way for me to break through Araquanid as well. It's a great way. Specs Flash Cannon is a great way for me to break through the Sylveon if it's like physically defensive, and Earth Power is a great way for me to break through the Zekrom if I have Webs up, as well as the Nidoqueen. So I just really felt like Specs Heatran kind of went in against this team most of the time. It doesn't have to be my Moltres answer, and in all honesty, Moltres is probably the Heatran answer. I didn't want to tech on Rock Slide, I'd just rather have Rocks. Again, the removal options on this team are poor, and even if the Moltres is going to run Heavy Duty Boots or the Talonflame previously, the Rock Ship is going to come in clutch against Celesteela, limiting its recovery options. You know, it's going to come in clutch against the Zekrom, weakening that, especially if it's like a Life Orb variant, then wearing that down a little bit more, you know, cutting some regen off of the Tangela every single time. You know, Rock Chip is just very overall useful. I'm actually running max speed Timid Heatran to outspeed max speed Nidoqueen as well. I could have avoided one extra point and put it in defense or something like that, but that is the team. So I'm just going to lead with the Heatran. I decided I wanted to play really aggressively with this matchup from prep because I didn't win last time because of the Tangela, and I didn't play aggressively enough around the Tangela and making predictions and things like that. So I'm just going to lead with the Heatran, and I'm expecting Heatran versus Nidoqueen lead. I think in most scenarios, you never Earth Power the Heatran. I have quad ground immunities. There's pretty much no reason to click Earth Power turn 1 because Articuno in particular is a pretty free switch for me. So I don't see a reason for you to click Earth Power if you're Sonya here on turn 1, and instead you probably just click Rocks. Like that would be my best idea if I was Sonya here. So I am just gonna pop the Shuka. If it wasn't Shuka, I was Okoing that. But now that they've seen that I'm Specs, it's a pretty easy switch into Celesteela. So I opt to go into the Vikavolt. It was the exact same turn 1 scenario that I predicted. You know, the Shuka's gone in the Nidoqueen. The Nidoqueen could get a Wish Pass into it, but without the Shuka, it's definitely not living an Earthquake from Lando or an Earth Power from Heatran at this point. And I've caught the Celesteela now, which is obviously very scared of my Vikavolt. No matter what set it is, it's scared of my Vikavolt. So I'm just going to set up my webs because I really want my webs for the Mega Alakazam and the Zekrom. She's going to make a good prediction on the Rock Slide, but although Rock Slide would have hit the Vikavolt too and catches my Articuno on the switch, I'm going to try and sort of see what damage is going on here. You know, by removing my 4x weakness, I'm taking 40% instead of 80. I just decided now is kind of the time to just go for it, rather than like risk that the entire time or risk the Nidoqueen staying alive and being able to get a Wish Pass into it somewhere else. The Mega Alakazam is going to come in and set up a sub on my Roost. I don't really care if Psyshock will two-shot me from this range, but Ice Beam always breaks the sub, so that's fine. She sets up Manual Psychic Terrain, which I thought was interesting, and then crits a Focus Blast, which I also thought was interesting. I'm going to do a tremendous amount of damage to the Mega Alakazam, but we are going to die to the Psychic. And so now we've seen the entire Mega Alakazam set. The crit Focus Blast kind of mattered in terms of me preserving my Articuno. Potentially later, I would have tried to get a Toxic off against something else. You know, Articuno is a good pivot into the Umbreon or into the Sylveon later. So that crit Focus Blast kind of sucked because I would have two-shot this Alakazam. I would have lived that Psychic had I not been crit by the Focus Blast. The Focus Blast crit, you know, it would have done about 38%, something around there, and then I would have lived the Psychic from that range because of how especially defensive I was. I believe I actually just went for Ice Beam, but you know, with webs up, I can actually roost on anything with Articuno. Besides the Celesteela, I probably would switch into something else on a Heavy Slam from Celesteela, maybe Heatran, something like that. Either way, the Alakazam is slowed down by the webs, so I'm okay with this. It lets me bring in my Mienshao. U-turn is a really safe click. You know, if the Alakazam wants to switch out, then so be it, but she is just going to sack it. I thought the Sylveon might come in, so Heatran is a pretty solid option for me to just bring in on a neutral play here. You know, I figured if the Umbreon comes in, I get my Rocks up, which is more chip on the Zekrom, the Celesteela, the Sylveon, etc. And because I think the Umbreon's probably going to be specially defensive, and that is exactly what happened. You know, she knows that I'm Choice Specs, so the Umbreon coming in tells me this is definitely especially defensive Umbreon, probably to deal with Yveltal. Again, I think Sylveon is a better check for that, but that's okay. It's out of the picture. Um, and I can just let the Umbreon do whatever it wants to. So it's going to try and Pass a Wish. Nothing is chipped yet, so I don't really care about that. If it's going to stay in, then my Vikavoolt's going to come in on it. Toxic was an interesting play, but knowing that I'm locked in doesn't really change anything there. I have to go for the Bug Buzz, which does a tremendous amount to the Sylveon. Shows me that this is definitely not specially defensive at all. And then I can just go Heat Train on the Sylveon pretty freely the next time. Showing that it's a Wish Passer is interesting to me. So there's double Wish on this team with Celesteela. Like, I get the idea behind drafting both of them, but it's just kind of strange to see both of them in. My Flash Cannon to the Umbreon does almost nothing, but I'm just going to go for it again, and the Zekrom takes a trillion. I'm going to go to my Vikavolt and just sack it to whatever the Zekrom wants to go for here. I know that my Lando lives, or can outspeed this after a Dragon Dance. It is going to be Life Orb with Draco Meteor. It was Draco Meteor last time to deal with Lando probably, but this is pretty much the best time for me to do anything. The Sylveon is weakened. The Sylveon is what I'm identifying as probably the most physically defensive Mon. The Umbreon is probably just max HP with no Phys Def. The Sylveon is going to be the majority of the physical defense on this team, and I realize that now is as good a time as ever to just set up a Swords Dance with Lando. This Zekrom is at -1 attack, so it's not going to be able to kill me with anything. It's at -2 special attack after taking the Draco Meteor drops, and my Lando win condition is in, and it can win right here if I get the roll against the Umbreon. After the Swords Dance, it's a roll against Umbreon because I'm Jolly rather than Adamant. Had I been Adamant, it would not be a roll. But yeah, free Swords Dance for me. The Celesteela comes in thinking that it's a check. Lol, no. I'm going to go for the Gravity here on the Celesteela, as it is going to Toxic and pop my Lumberry. So perfect reason to have the Lumberry there, and now Earthquake just claims a kill for me. I don't care what the Celesteela is. She's going to opt to just sack off the Sylveon. To try and get the Umbreon in to foul play me, and this is the moment of truth. At 88%, the Umbreon is taking a roll from this Lando, but it's a roll in my favor to kill. It turns out that there was actually a little bit of physical defense investment, and it was about a 50-50 or a 56% or something for me to get the roll, and I am able to get the roll. So that is game over. We're going to take this finals match. We're going to take this finals match 4-0 because Landorus is just going to be able to clean everything up with Earthquake, and I'm really happy that this Landorus set worked out the way it did. Again, I mentioned this in the game chat, but I actually don't think the roll mattered at all. Even if the Umbreon was going to kill me with Foul Play, it would be low enough that Heatran can just come in and click Fire Blast, and as long as I'm hitting Fire Blasts, the Zekrom is never going to be a problem. And actually, at that point, I could have just brought in the Yveltal as well, and Yveltal would have been able to deal with the Zekrom at that range. It would have killed Umbreon at that range. I also could have just U-turned into the Mienshao. Depending on the Celesteela set, if it had Protect or not, I can kind of just click High Jump Kick over and over again. Or I just U-turn into Heatran at that point, and if it's the Zekrom coming in, it's taking Rocks damage. We saw that it took 37... What was it at when it came in on Rocks this time? I did 29 to the Zekrom when it came in after Rocks. So because of the Life Orb recoil that it took, the Flash Cannon did 37% earlier. So Flash Cannon is a pretty easy click, and then I can just sack something to the Celesteela, bring the Heatran back in, click Fire Blast against the Celesteela. So I think pretty much as soon as the Lando came in, it was game over, regardless of if I got the roll on the Umbreon or not, clicking Foul Play. Because I'm always going to move faster than the Umbreon. Even if I don't get it, it's living on like 1 or 2%. And at that range, it's not going to be in a position where it can wish up. That is pretty much the situation. It could wish up the Zekrom, right? It could definitely wish up the Zekrom, and then maybe I'm playing games with clicking Earth Power Mine games with the Celesteela, but Umbreon, there's no removal, so Umbreon's always down to Rocks, and that basically means, the Zekrom is getting wished up one time. The Celesteela is never going to get wished up. I have options at that point. I would probably go Yveltal and try and Dark Pulse it down, because Yveltal is not the greatest matchup against the Celesteela, but we didn't really discover if the Celesteela was specially defensive or physically defensive or whatnot. So, yeah, that is going to be the game. Very proud of the squad and us managing to go 12-2 plus 46 combined between the regular season playoffs, and just happy to pick up another championship. My first Gen 8 title. Happy to pick it up against a bunch of pals. And that's that. So I guess let's sort of recap the season now that I'm done my playoffs run. I have the doc for ABDL pulled up here as well. It's a little bit sketchy, but you can see over here I am this team right here, 10-2 plus 38. And then there's the kill leaderboard over here. Zekrom was incredible throughout the regular season. I did manage to get Lando in 8th place with 16-5. This is a little bit sus on the... There we go. That's a little bit better. So now you can see. So I've got the Lando here in 8th with 16-5. And then just moving over to my team page, SOS. There we go. This is the team. I didn't make any transactions or anything like that. I lost in week 3 and week 11, and I got an FF win in week 9. Had a pretty huge winning streak here in the middle of the season that secured a lot for me. Lando performed out of its mind. This is only regular season stats, keep in mind. Lando performed out of its mind, 16-5 coming to all the games. Heatran 12-5 coming to all the games. Delmise was okay. It did win every single game that it came to, luckily. But 2-4 not great. Mienshao went 1-0 in 3 games, but won every single game. Vikavolt 1-1 in 6 games, but won every single game it came to, including playoffs. It is 8-8, 8-8, and it didn't get a kill. It didn't get a kill in playoffs either. So Vikavolt ended up actually going 1-1 in 8 games, but it won all of the games. Vikavolt was really clutch in playoffs, honestly. Just having the webs option against both of those teams really opened up Lando. Articuno put in a lot of work, despite being part of both of my losing matchups. It did come to both of my playoff games as well, and got the salty run back in both of those games. Articuno was really clutch for me as a specially defensive mon the entire season. It was honestly just amazing. Opened up a lot of opportunities for me. Mega Beedrill didn't make an appearance in playoffs, but 7 kills in 7 games. Dracovish was kind of in all honesty. I think people had to prep for it, but Lando T was definitely the star of this team in the long run. Lando plus Yveltal plus Heatran. Dracovish came to both of my losing games. It was an odd set against... what's her face against Nessa the first time. Excuse me. Strongmon overall. Bolton was terrible. I would never draft that piece of garbage ever again. The only reason I even had it was to fill the speed gap between Mega Beedrill and Mienshao, but that was completely irrelevant most of the season. It came to both of my losses and nothing else. I would never ever draft Bolton again. Terrible Pokemon. Yveltal 12-2 in 9 games. It didn't really pick up that many kills in playoffs. I know it got a couple against Nessa there, with the Sucker Punch against the Minior, as well as the Dark Pulse against the Galarian Corsola. And no, the Melodic killed itself. It didn't do anything in the finals match. In fact, it didn't even come out. But Yveltal was definitely the best Uber on the board, so pleased about that. Comfy came to 1 game against the Boundly Baltoy, and I got 2 kills and 1 death with it, but it was still worthwhile, I guess, to have a fairy. I actually ended up not drafting a Psychic, which is really weird, because personally, I love using Psychic types, just the diversity of coverage that they get, and how strong Psychic types are in the format. In this case, I didn't really need them because I could break through Psychics really easily, so I didn't need another Psychic to tank Psychic hits. I had double Bug with the Vikavolt and the Mega Beedrill, and I had a really powerful Dark type and a Dark Breaker in the Yveltal all season. So not having a Psychic wasn't the end of the world, but I probably could have done without a Fairy as well. I didn't really struggle against many dragons besides Zekrom. I think outside of Zekrom, there wasn't a single dragon that actually did anything against me. Nessa didn't even have a dragon on their team. Kyurem White never clicked a dragon move against me. It was mainly ice moves because I had all my flying types, and Kyurem White got 1 kill or 0 kills, actually. 1 kill, I want to say? I want to say it's 1, but I could be wrong. There was a Garchomp on Leon's team, but let's not talk about that. There's a Latias in Rose's game, but we never played that. The Salamence against Piers did absolutely nothing against me. Mega Altaria from Milo did absolutely nothing against me. There's no dragon on BD's team. The dragon on Melanie's team is Dracloak. There was no dragon on Opal's team. Zekrom on Sonia. Kyurem White again from Marnie. And Sliggoo from Kabu. So Comfy ended up being almost entirely useless. The dark types that I faced weren't really a problem either with Yveltal on the team to resist the dark anyways. So I think Comfy in hindsight probably could have been something else, but it was nice to at least have the base 100 there, and Comfy ended up coming in clutch against Bede, pulling off a win there. Just with the priority Giga Drain being able to nuke the Barraskewda, I think that was actually pretty important in picking up that win, or I may have lost that game. So that is the team page. In terms of the rest of the doc, there's just regular stat stuff. Transactions, there were a few there. Obviously, the ones from Leon that I never actually looked into at all. The tier list is what the tier list looked like. So we were forced to take two Galar Pokemon from Galar Tier 1 and Galar Tier 2, and so I opted into Dracovish, which was actually only 100 points as my Galar Tier 1, which left me open to taking a Tier 0, which was the Veltal, of course, which I actually think was the best Tier 0. Zacian was not allowed to run Rusted Sword. Zacian was actually pretty broken too. Zamazenta was not allowed to the Rusted Shield. I think Zamazenta with no shield is pretty bad. Zekrom ended up being just an absolute terror. I think Zygarde 100% is pretty terrible. Mew was actually in tier 0 because of how good it was now. No one actually took Lando I Sheer Force, and instead I took Lando T. That's actually because I drafted Lando I Sheer Force in UTL. I'm hoping to have a championship run for UTL. I'm in semifinals right now, so we'll see if I can do that again. You know, I did win UTL last season. We'll see if I can run back to back. Giratina Origin wasn't drafted this season. It was on the championship team last time. Ash Greninja was not drafted this season. Deoxys Defense and Speed and Darkrai weren't drafted. I could have opted into Darkrai instead of Yveltal. I think Yveltal was the better choice overall. Magearna was drafted. I was definitely looking at taking Magearna again. I did have it last season, and it was amazing for me. I did have Z options so last season. Naganadel free as well. You know, there were some good options left on the table. Tapu Lele. I think people maybe went to a little bit different areas in terms of tier 1. Instead of going for offense, they went a little bit more defensive with it. Genesect was obviously a problem as well. But in tier 0, people, because we were forced into taking the Galar tiers, the Galar tier mons with our free points, they opted out of more tier 0s and into the Galar tier 1s, which I think ended up helping my draft immensely by having Yveltal and not being forced into Galar tiers, or at least taking a lower Galar tier instead of like a Cinderace, a Galarian Darmanitan, a Dragapult, which was dropped, or a Barraskewda, or even in the 120s. You know, after the fact, we probably realized that Alchemy is not good enough for that. Same with Copperaja. Corviknight probably could have been moved up to a Galar Tier 1. Duraludon's terrible. Phalanx also not great. Indeedee, not really good. Poltegeist probably could have moved down. Appleton also could have moved down. Like, the 120 tier was not that fantastic. So being able to grab the 100 point here and then grabbing the 60 point here, plus my tier 0, and then I grabbed a Mega that gave me points in the Mega Beedrill, which just sort of fit everything perfectly. I didn't really want to go down to a 20 point mon because then I'm working with like a 10 mon roster entirely. So that is pretty much the doc. I don't really think there's anything else there. Here's the playoff bracket. I did win my way through the Hullbreed Huntail and the Natdex Nation. That's pretty much all you have to see there. Playoff info. This was how the kills broke down. So where's my match? Dracovish got 1, Yveltal got 2 in this matchup, Heatran got 1, Articuno got 1, and then over here Lando got 4, Articuno got 1, Mienshao got 1. So pretty balanced all around. In terms of playoffs, you know, Articuno and Yveltal each got 2, Lando got 4, Mienshao got 1, Dracovish got 1, Heatran got 1, and that was pretty much all there was there. Besides that, I guess we'll go through my kill leaders here. So this is my all-time kill leaders doc. I do this at the end of most season recaps, but Mimikyu's still at the top here with 114. Where's the earliest thing? I didn't highlight these this time, which is kind of a yikes. But Mega Beedrill here, 52 kills. I should have highlighted these for sure. Lando T moving down here. Lando T is actually higher on the list now with 21 kills now, and it's got a title, which is great. I guess I'll search ABDL Season 2, and then just work my way down from there. Mienshao here with 17 kills. I liked Mienshao. Heatran, I'm really liking Heatran. For some reason, this sorts by direct kills, but Heatran has 6 passive kills. So 21 kills for Heatran as well. It should be higher up, closer to the Lando. ABDL Season 2, Yveltal, 14 kills. The one season that I've ever drafted it, 14 kills moves itself way up here in terms of the kill getters. The Vikavolt was amazing actually. You know, Vikavolt, even though it only went 1-1 and came to 8 games, it was still just such a clutch member of the team the entire season. Articuno, fantastic Pokemon, absolutely love it. I had an absolute blast with Articuno, definitely would draft that again, and I have. Dracovish was okay, 4-4 in 7 games, not the best scoreline, but not the worst either. Kind of an overrated breaker in my opinion. I think that you do have to prep for it quite hard, but in terms of this team, it was definitely not the star, and it was kind of just a supporting cast member. It was kind of odd having my only water and my only dragon be a mon that literally never ran a dragon move outside of Dragon Pulse and only came as a bulky water one time and failed at doing that. Yeah, very strange, but I guess I filled the typing, so that's what mattered. Realistically, Lando Heatran, Yveltal, Vikavolt, and Articuno came to the most games, and then you're looking at like Mega Beedrill, Delmise, and then filler between like Mienshao, Comfy Boltund, depending on the week. All season long, and then down here I've got something. This is Comfy. Comfy, again, it only came to the one game. I'd probably try and draft it again. I've only taken it twice. It's only been to 4 games total. Delmise, I have drafted again as well, actually, and it's kind of eh. You know, it fills its job as a spinner, and it's kind of an okay physical attacker, but I mentioned in NCL that I think Delmise would have been better to my Shaman, and I'm actually kind of taking that back because Shaman's actually been fantastic and Delmise has been kind of meh. And then way down here is Boltund, way at the bottom. Boltund was terrible, and I will absolutely never draft that piece of garbage ever again. Horrible electric type. It needs something. It honestly needs something like Ice Fang. Like it needs Ice Fang, I think, to actually be relevant, or maybe a better attack stat. Like base 121 speed is fantastic, but base 90 attack is it's really not cutting it. And even on a bulk up set with Strongjaw, it just does not do enough. So that is our ABDL Season 2 season. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the entirety of the season in the 5 parts of the movie. I had an absolute blast playing it. Oh, I guess I should run through who each coach was. So the Motostoke, Moltres, and Kabu, we beat Jed in week 1. That was Jed. Marnie and the Yelling Amper, I broke my curse and I beat Hamu twice. I was very surprised to see that, but not surprised at the end of the season when Marnie ended up pulling that terrible roster through to playoffs. Sonia and the Natex Nation, I lost to Gareth the first time and then beat Gareth in the finals. That was a surprise to see Gareth. Opal and the Glimwood Gloom was Nacho, which I was a little bit surprised to see no Dragon on Nacho's team, but failure to use Galarian Darmanitan definitely sounds like Nacho. Melanie in the Chichester Snover was Tiff, who I've played a few times, Celestial Alchemist. Very good friend of mine, and she put up a fight, but her team was a lot of the same stuff all the time. Bede in the Baloney Baltoy, I was very surprised to almost lose to Ace, of all people, but it was still a fairly convincing win at the end of the day. Just needed my Comfy to be frozen. Milo in the Turfield Torterra, I believe this was... Oh my goodness, how am I blanking on this now? Milo and the Truefield Torterra was Demons at the end of the day, and Demons misplayed the Mega Altaria and just got crit by the Stone Edge, or caught on the Stone Edge on the switch. Piers in the Spike Move Spiritomb, I was very surprised to see was Brian going 9-3. It was a very strong team. Brian ended up drafting Mega Adino just for the points. Rose in the Wind and Wooloo was Russ. I knew that definitely right off the bat after playing him. He injured his ankle in real life and then ended up having to forfeit to me. But again, I don't regret that at all. I had to fly out the next day, so there was absolutely no time for me to do a makeup match, and there was no way in hell that I really wanted to play Zacian, so very glad about that. I had no good planning in Zacian. I never actually went through my team for that one, and I have no reason to. Leon and the Galar-Galade, the team that Shade beat was Marker, and again, I'm very weirded out by the fact that I just didn't change any of my possible prep for that one. Very strange considering it was a week 10 match. And Nessa and the Hulbury Huntail is the last team that I have to talk about, and that was Magic. And of course it was Magic, forcing kills with Minior. You know, if you've seen my NCL video taking on Magic this season, NCL Season 6, you'll notice exactly the same Minior playstyle, so I have absolutely no doubts about that one. Yeah, so that is going to be for me. Again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this ABDL season. This was a much longer playoffs video, just sort of summarizing everything, going more in depth with my thought process because I remember it better because it was closer to now. But yeah, that's going to be for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys for future series.